Kept you waiting, huh? Been a little while. Well, it's been a interesting time, you know. Luck and fate are scorning me even more than normal, and despite my efforts, all it seems to do is move the goalpost. So, for those of you that haven't watched in a while, I lost my job 2 months ago, and it was real questionable. That whole situation was questionable from day one because you know, despite my antics, which were PG-13, there was a problem early on with some favoritism and double standards, and there was a male borderline, and he was out to get a lot of people, and I was the main target, but not the only one. That's all I'm going to say about that. But in these past 2 months, I've also been in and out of town, visiting friends out of town, and, getting random shit done that I hadn't had the time to do, that I had the time to do, and wasn't in the best state of mind to get on camera, So there's that too. By the way, did I mention I'm out of work? So if you can support the channel, the links are in the About section to send a tip if this has been helpful. Not to mention it's October and been doing a lot of meditation, talking to Lilith, and she's been babying me, which is awesome because I need that. And it's October, so it's the season of the witch. So I've been kind of focused, on doing some shadow work, because I did a lot of shadow work all last year because, given my borderline mother died and I went through a bad breakup, I've been looking for answers. And I've been looking for answers now because the past year, nothing's gone right, and yet I've learned nothing new, unless the lesson is, random chance and right place at the right time is anything. And certainly not a lesson Lilith would teach you, and it certainly terrifies the hell out of me. But earlier today, I was summoned by a friend to talk to a friend of a friend about a narcissist, so that's always fun, going to a bar to have a deep, intimate conversation with somebody I never met, or maybe I met her once, I don't remember, but, it's always a little bit. It's like my friend's like, oh, well, you do your whole intuition knowledge thing where you talk to people and fill in the blanks and figure things out with minimal information, and that scares them a little bit, but it tells you know what you're talking about. And I'm like, but Tina, I don't know if I can do that anymore. It hasn't been working. My intuition's broken. But I did, and it worked. So what I want to talk about today, after a 3-minute introduction, but it's been a while, so stay with me, is the healing your mind does after narcissistic abuse. In other words, after you go no contact, or in a few, I'll give a caveat, low contact in a few situations. Now, this can manifest in a couple different ways. This can manifest if your parents were the narcissist, or one of them anyway, and you finally get away from them, be it go to college, be it move to a different state, be they dying. Or it can be if you are or were in a relationship with a narcissist that controlled your life, the healing after that. Or if, you had a narcissistic boss. In any of these situations, and my caveat is for low contact would be if you have children that you share with a narcissist. So obviously complete no contact is not on the menu, but of course low contact is, and also the gray rocking method, which I advise you do. But in these situations, memories and clarity are going to come back only after you get away. Only after you get out of that toxic environment can you see it for what it truly is. Because while you're in it, you're in survival mode. Your brain is telling you it's not that bad. Now, this is for several reasons. This is because, for one, it could be like, well, these were my parents, in honor of my mother and my father and all that crap. Or if it's a relationship, it can be, well, I've invested so much time in this person, it's just a rough patch, it's going to get better. When you get away, you realize that even the good times weren't really that good, and it was abusive and manipulative from the beginning, and it probably began as such. Usually, when one ends up dating a narcissist, it isn't, the foundation of the relationship isn't some deep emotional connection or some, magnetic sexual attention, it's usually, um, deception, manipulation, and timing, because narcissists know who to choose to go after. Different narcissist types target different types. Overt narcissists, it's all about getting, we're going to speak with males here. Overt narcissists will chase the hottest girl around. And it's just, I got the hottest girl, and it's, I'm the greatest thing ever, and blah, blah, blah. She's so lucky to have me, even though I'm going to cheat on her, but just the privilege of saying she's with me because I'm so great. The covert male, he'll go after the girl that, depending on the situation, it could be the girl who he knows just went through a breakup, so she's vulnerable. Or, if it's in like a workplace setting or a gym or a bar where there's, the covert's been going there and there's a group of regulars, it'll be the new girl that doesn't know his reputation, that, doesn't know anybody. So therefore, when he makes his move, she's not close with anybody in that inner circle who knows who and what he is to come protect her. And that's the move they make. Now, covert narcissists are a little bit different. They're usually cowards. They're very arrogant and think they're better than everybody, but deep down, they're very insecure and can't handle confrontation, so they'll avoid it. And they're the ones more than likely that'll go after the empath because they want a people pleaser. They need someone that they can dominate emotionally, someone that, basically just wants unconditional love. And the covert will play a role to make her think that's what he's doing, but in reality, she's just a trophy, something on his arm, something, because the covert's usually like the businessy type. So the covert, whereas, the overt's more like the dude bro, like, meathead, roided up muscle guy. But the covert, his whole life is networking, climbing the ladder. And deep down, see, the overt, they truly believe they're the greatest thing ever. The covert knows deep down what they are. And, they know people talk behind their back. So they need, that's why they go after, the empathetic sweetheart girl next door on their arm, because then people in general, or some people that don't, at least the ones that don't know about narcissism, will be, well, he can't be that bad if she's with him. She's so sweet and nice. There must be something we don't see, and that makes him tolerable. That's that game. And it's something you don't realize until after you break away. See, when you break away from a narcissist, things come back. And, I've been in on and off isolation the past 2 months, and things have come back from various stages of my life. In a work setting, if you're working for a narcissist, you start to think your own inadequacies. You start to think that, you can't have original thoughts, or your instincts are wrong, or you need to be micromanaged. My last golf course superintendent I worked for in 2016 was like this. Well, I don't know, he's more of a borderline breaking chairs, Jesus Christ, punching computers, yeah, mine. But they make you think like you could never be as good as them, and they're the greatest of the industry, and the best you can do is just sit and listen and do exactly what you're being told, even if what you're being told is 2 decades out of date in methodology. And that'll have you doubting your own abilities, and it'll have you thinking, well, if I leave this job, I'll never get a better one because look how inadequate I am. Like, I have to have my hand held this whole time. Now, after you leave a narcissist, thoughts become more clear. Because when you're in that situation with a narcissist, and I'll add this, even those of us that have survived narcissistic abuse and learned what it is and know the tactics, know the playbook, know it all, when we're confronted in the heat of the moment with a narcissist, especially if a narcissist has some kind of power over us, or, are able to basically con somebody else to come at us, that initial survival reaction sinks in. Because if you fight back, it just makes it worse for yourself. Recently, or semi-recently, within the past year, I worked with a male borderline, typical male borderline on the down low, always out to get people, always brown nosing. And, me being me, I spoke up about it pretty early on, as did others. And I basically became the leader of the other people in this department we worked at. Like, they rallied around me for support. And I spoke up to our superior, who basically said it didn't exist. And then I went to his superior and showed him evidence. Well, actually, somebody else did via the scheduling, and other people then spoke up, and it only made the matter worse for us. They basically said it didn't exist, even though it was one of the most obvious things that everybody saw, not just in our department, but everybody in the whole business saw. Because the running joke within my department was, this borderline would be like, well, there's no favoritism, and the other people, my friends, would be like, yeah, and there's no sexual tension between me and this female employee that there was like ridiculous through the roof sexual tension with. So, but meanwhile, I was persecuted for that for some reason, but they hid stuff for him and gave him special treatment. And that can be a deterrent in itself, where it's like, I'm talking in a business situation where if you operate within the rules of HR and within the business policies, if this narcissist or borderline have people in power fooled, the situation is going to get worse. And then you're constantly going to be operating in a mindset of fight or flight. And particularly if this person is trying to take you down for whatever reason, whatever, I don't even know the reason why this guy was trying to take me down, but constantly having him out to get you and knowing that and spying on you. And this is my situation, was like he had access to CCTV cameras and stuff, and having our superiors, in on it. It was quite frustrating. It's that constant feeling of being watched and the constant ridicule. So why am I bringing this up? Because that leads to imposter syndrome. And that's another tactic of the narcissist. They will invoke, and this isn't my diagnosis. Fortunately, my closest friend at this job, she only worked there part-time. Her main job was a therapist. And last December, she told me I was suffering from imposter syndrome, which also made me second guess myself and overthink another situation that I wish I had acted on sooner. Things may have been different, but that other situation was, personal, and I felt very deeply about the person. And I also, at the same time, because of the borderline, had to be very protective at the same time without anybody knowing. So knowing about the protective stuff, they knew how I felt about her. So there's that. They'll create a situation where no matter what you do, there's no winning it. Like when you're in that mindset of, I can't ignore the narcissist, I can't outrun the narcissist, because in that work environment, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And then if they try to go after people around you, now when you're out of this situation in various forms, when you're out of it, like say in a work situation, you realize just how messed up it is. You realize that had you pursued that through the chain of command, there's a lot of stuff they couldn't answer for. Like, they'll make you think this is okay, you must accept these double standards. Because any narcissist of any kind, they'll, if they're doing stuff and it's being swept under the rug and you question it, and you're getting yelled at for things that, have nothing to do with your job, but it's purely your personal life, and not in like a ball busting way, and like, no, this is wrong because it's you. And you call the narcissist people, that's different, that's you. There's always that sense of double standard. And you have to continue to realize that that's not normal. Like, the reality the narcissist creates isn't normal. They want you to think it's normal, and that you have to function in that reality, and that there's nothing you can do about it. But that is a blatant lie, depending on the situation. Like I said, in a professional setting, there's the chain of command to make sure truth is spoken. Because if you get the whole truth out, at the end of the day, there's things they can't answer for. Now, in a relationship, it can be more tricky. It depends on how long it's been going on. Are you married? Are you engaged? Do you live together? Have you just started dating? What do your friends think? Like, who does the narcissist have fooled? Because usually the play the narcissist will make is that if you've been with them any length of time, is that you can't function without them, that they brought out the best version of yourself. No, they brought out a shadow. You're a scarecrow. You're not even yourself anymore. You're their trophy. You're their prize. You're their slave. If you're at the point where they're making all decisions, and if anybody, else talks to you when they're not around and simply ask you like your preference on something, be it like type of wine, type of beer, Pepsi or Coke, you feel like you have to justify your own preference because you're afraid it doesn't fall in line with what the narcissist wants you to say, what they want you to be, there's a problem. Usually in this situation, the narcissist doesn't have many people fooled. Because another key thing, and the people around you will catch on to, and you have to notice that you'll notice this after you get away from them, is the isolation. The narcissist will want to keep you as isolated as possible from anything they deem a threat. Be that family members of yours will speak up, close friends, potential other love interests. They know what they're doing, and they want to keep the game going as long as possible. And they typically do this through lies, false promises, carrot on a stick, promises of marriage, or perhaps promises of moving in together, promises of any sort of real commitment. Because broad brushing it here, the overt narcissistic male is never monogamous. Never. The overt narcissistic male is always like, oh, I got this one on the side, but you're my main girl, so you should feel privileged with that. Like I said, the covert narcissistic male and the borderline male are, by and large, from what I've heard and seen and witnessed within the narcissistic abuse community, on the down low, and the woman he's with is simply a cover, and that's why they typically go after very empathetic and naive women who won't catch on to this quickly, who they feel they can con, and then they'll manipulate them into thinking they can't function without them and that they're the best thing that ever happened to them, when in reality, that is what's holding them back from their true potential, not only professionally, but, socially, romantically, to be the woman they truly want to be, because they're so convinced that they must serve the narcissist above all else, and only by doing exactly what the narcissist says do they have any chance of ever getting what they want in life, because the narcissist dangles it like a carrot on a stick they'll never catch. The narcissist, I know best. No, they don't. They know what they want and how to use people. And once you have no more use to them, they will simply discard you. It's another point is when you're about to leave the narcissist, or perhaps you just did, don't worry about because I said narcissists typically target empaths. Don't worry about their feelings, like you hurt them by leaving them. No. Narcissists be like, no, I left her. Nobody leaves me. They will glom on to somebody else within a fortnight. Like, they do not, if you leave a narcissist, they'll simply be like, well, my supply's gone. That person, they'll convince themselves, like, I was about to discard her anyway. It was on its way out. Like, I'm going to get somebody prettier and younger. That's how they think. They don't love anything but themselves. They typically give you crumbs of affection. A narcissist will do the bare minimum to keep you as their main source of supply. And that's always going to be the case. They'll never change. They're not capable of changing because they think they're perfect and they think they're already giving you more than they deserve. Now, in a parent situation, it's sort of like the situation I was in years ago, where you're living a lie, where they're basically telling you, no, this is who you're supposed to be because that's what you're supposed to do. Like, you don't move out of the area to become a firefighter at 19. You go to college to say you did it, not because, any job or it's going to help you. That's just what you do because, you just fall in line and keep up with the Joneses because reasons, and only the opinions of the other baby boomers in their town matter. The rest of the world is like, wow, these are our people. These are the chosen ones. No. And before you know it, there's things like the Great Recession, and there's a lot of other stuff that played a role in mine, almost dying by getting shot. But eventually you'll wake up one day and realize that you live a lie, you work a job you hate 7 days a week for not great money, and you feel that job is so demeaning and degrading that you dry heave in a panic attack every day before you go there. And the only reason that you're able to get through the day is because, thank the goddess you were shot and she saved you, because you got to wear a knee brace and you're in constant pain. But at least every 4 hours you can take a fistful of Vicodin and that numbs the pain just enough. The point is you'll be living a lie. And you can only sustain that lie for so long, whether it's telling yourself you have to stay in a bad job with a narcissistic boss, telling yourself, you're staying with a narcissist who makes you cry all the time, who will never marry you, or be it putting up with narcissistic parents who have you living a life that you wouldn't care less if you didn't wake up the next day. That delusion can only be sustained so long, and only after you leave do you really see it for what it was. This is what it is. I'm giving you 3 examples. This is what it is, but you don't see it when you're in it because you've convinced yourself that it's not that bad. You've convinced yourself of that because that's what you have to convince yourself to survive. You're in a survival mode. And particularly in prolonged abuse, be it, you were raised by a narcissist, perhaps at least until you become, a teenager, young adult, you've normalized it because that's all you know. You assume that's how every place is, and it's not. Or if you've been in a relationship with a narcissist for years, particularly, like I said, if you're married or you live together, you've normalized the abuse because that person isolates you as much as they can to where it's just the two of you. And that's when they strike, because let's be honest, those of you that have dated narcissists, how often did they really act like that their true selves in front of people that could call them out, or, people that could potentially get physical with them because deep down they're cowards? No, compare that to when it's just the two of you and how they dominate you to make you subservient and compliant to their will. If you stay with a narcissist too long, you will realize a couple things. You don't care about other people's feelings or emotions, be it family, your closest friends, somebody else that you have romantic feelings for, or even your own. You get to a point where all you care about is pleasing the narcissist, and that is a very sad existence, and it's also unsustainable. So I know I rambled on quite a bit. I wanted to give in-depth examples of all of these, 3 main topics. If they resonate with you, if you're in that situation, realize it is only going to get worse. If you've recently broke free of them, understand that the clarity of what it really was, like perhaps you feel some longing to go back. Do not let the narcissist Hoover tactic you, but realize in time, the more time goes on, the less and less you'll miss those people you went no contact with, because you'll truly be able to see them for who and what they are that you couldn't see until you got out of the situation. Clarity brings truth. So remember that. Always seek what you truly desire. Always seek free will. Remember, timing means nothing, and create your own fate. Hail Lilith.